Siege X just got announced, and I was one of the very lucky content creators that was flown out to Atlanta to play the game on the main stage in the announcement trailer. So here's everything that you need to know about Siege's new game mode, Dual Front. So first of all, the Dual Front game mode is a 6v6 game mode as opposed to literally every other game mode in Siege that we've had so far, which is usually a 5v5 game mode. You'll have one extra enemy to kill and one other teammate that can help you kill those players. The second thing to note about this 6v6 game mode is that it's not just attack versus defense. You can mix any number of attackers and defenders on the same team, and your enemies also have a pool of attackers and defenders that they can choose from. So how do you know who's attacking and who's defending and whether you're supposed to attack or defend? Well, it can seem a little bit hard because the next thing about this game mode you might not know is that the map that you're playing on is completely symmetrical, meaning the attacking side is laid out the exact same way as the defending side, even though really there aren't any true attackers or defenders. Now, the color of buildings is a bit different, so you can always tell which side is yours and which side is the enemy team's, but the map is symmetrical. Not only is it symmetrical, but it is the biggest map in Rainbow Six Siege history. Think of the biggest map that you can think of, like Nighthaven Labs or Lair, and multiply that by about 10. That is how big this map is. But if it's a bit confusing for you, you have a mini-map in the top left that shows you exactly the entire map, as well as the zones you're in control of and where you're allowed to go and where you probably shouldn't go, as well as a neutral sector in the middle where anybody could take a gunfight. So like I just said, obviously you have things you should be attacking and things you should be defending. When do you do? How do you know which one to do? I'm just going to explain it all very, very bluntly. Essentially, you are attacking and defending at the same time. Considering that you have 5 other teammates you can work with, usually you'll attack and most of your teammates will defend, or you'll defend and your other teammates will attack. That's why the game is called Dual Front. There's 2 fronts you have to cover, the attacking front and the defending front, obviously. So you have 3 bombs you have to try to plant. If you plant the first bomb and they don't defuse it, you've essentially defused Sector A and you have to move on to Sector B. Once you've defused Sector B, you move on to Sector C, otherwise known as like their central hub. That's the final boss. And then once you defuse that, you win the game. The goal of the game is to try to defuse the 3 bombs on their side before they're able to defuse your 3 bombs. So attacking is just as important as defending here. Also, any attacker works the exact same as any defender, meaning that if you're an attacker, you can reinforce and barricade objects as an attacker, and if you're a defender, you can drone in and rappel onto surfaces as well. There essentially is literally no difference between how attackers and defenders work in this game mode aside from their unique gadget. So anybody can reinforce, anybody can barricade, anybody can drone, anybody can get on cameras, anybody can attack, anybody can defend, anybody can reinforce. It does not matter. You can do anything as any operator. This adds a lot of different things that you can do with the game. You can have a warden and a glass looking through the exact same smoke. You can create really weird pixel angles with Mira and Maverick on the same team. You can reinforce a wall as Thermite and then blow it up later. You can watch flanks with Legion and Gridlock on the same staircase. You can attack with a zombie by cutting off angles and planting the bomb. There's a lot of possibilities here, you get the idea. There's never quite been a game mode like this. The only time that you've really seen anything like this is with the Assault on Hereford game mode that came out last season. It's pretty much just like that. One thing that I do want to note as well in this game mode is that there is no headshots at all. You only can down people. However, it's still a one-shot headshot down, meaning that if you do hit somebody in the head with 1 bullet, they will get downed, but they're not going to get killed. However, this doesn't work if they've been previously downed before. The rule of you only being able to get downed once per life still stands in the new Dual Front game mode. So if you get headshot and you get downed, or if you just get downed in general and then you get revived, a headshot will count and you will be able to be headshot and killed. However, in most scenarios, there are no headshot kills in this new game mode. Another really obscure change that they made that they didn't really tell anybody about was the fact that Kapkan traps now one-shot people per Kapkan trap, meaning you have 5 lethal Kapkan traps on the board instead of having to combine 2 or 3 of them to get a down or a kill. Now, this might seem overpowered when I talk about this paired up with the next thing, which is that every ability in Rainbow Six Siege is rechargeable. Any primary utility, like a Thermite Breach, a Kapkan Trap, a Legion Mine, and a Zombie Barricade, a Sens Wall, you name it, they're all rechargeable. This goes for secondary utility too. Your flash grenades, your claymores, your hard-breaching charges, anything, they all recharge. This might seem really overpowered again with somebody like Kapkan, because then you can put an infinite amount of Kapkan traps down, but that's not the case, because there's a decay effect. Essentially, there is a certain amount of utility that is allowed per operator on the board. For Kapkan, for example, you're only allowed 5 Kapkan traps on the board at a time, meaning that if you put down all 5 Kapkan traps and you get a 6th one that just recharged, when you put that 6th Kapkan trap down, the first one that you placed down earlier is going to just disappear. It's going to despawn. It's going to be removed from the map so that you still only have 5 Kapkan traps on the table, even though you technically placed down 6. This really helps with the balancing of the game, but just in case you were wondering, no, you do not have infinite barbed wire, infinite claymores, or infinite Kapkan traps, unfortunately. But now that we've gone over the really obscure tips, I do want to go back over the main meat of the issue and how you really play this new game mode. So first of all, like I said, you have to be attacking and defending at the same exact time, and once you've defused the bomb, you've essentially completed one of 3 objectives you need to do in the game mode. However, it's a bit more complicated than that. You see, there are zones in Rainbow Six Siege that you either control or the enemy has control over. If you were to walk into a zone that the enemy controls, depending on if you were attacking it or defending it, you would either just immediately die and have to respawn, or you would just get wall hacks on you and they would be able to see you wherever you go until you leave that zone. So for example, at the start of the game, you can't walk past a certain red gate, and if you do after 3 seconds, you will just die. And that is how it goes for most zones. If you're trying to attack a zone that is controlled by the enemies already, you will just die. But there is one specific example where you won't die, and they'll just get wall hacks on you instead. And that is if you had a zone controlled and you were in that zone previously, and then they took it in the middle of you being in that zone. So let's say I'm defending a bomb site, but then they end up defusing my bomb, or planting the bomb, whatever you want to call it. They end up planting the bomb, and it is now their zone instead of my zone. The game's not going to just instant kill me because I was in the building that was previously in my zone. That would kind of suck. Instead, what they're going to do, if you failed to defend your zone and they took that zone and made that zone theirs, they're just going to make it to where instantaneously the entire team has wall hacks and a constant Deimos ping on you. That's pretty much how it's just going to work. And then the second you leave that zone that is now theirs that previously was yours, the wall hacks go away. But for most instances, if there's a zone that the enemy controls and you try to walk into it, after 3 seconds, you're just going to die. And if you want to know which is which, you can just look in the minimap and it will show you. There is one zone, which is the zone in the middle that is a neutral zone. That means anybody can walk into it and walk out of it and be completely fine, as well as the neutral zones that are the bomb sites that you're trying to defend or attack at the moment. In this neutral sector in the center of the map, there is one thing that does happen as a special event, and that is the hostage Dokkaebi event. Essentially, Dokkaebi is going to be tied up in the middle of the map. It is your job, or the enemy team's job, to try and extract Dokkaebi through a helicopter on their enemy's side of the map. If you do so and you extract Dokkaebi, the bomb that you're trying to plant immediately gets planted and puts progression on it instantaneously. When Dokkaebi spawns and what exactly triggers her is still unclear, and I'm honestly certain that it's completely random. But what do I mean when I say that it gives you progression on the bomb? Well, the way that bombs are planted in this game mode is a bit different than other game modes. Essentially, instead of planting the bomb, and then once the timer goes out, the bomb is defused, how it works in the 6v6 game mode is there's 3 different phases. Essentially, let's say I'm on attack and I'm planting the bomb. If I were to plant the bomb, there's this one big timer that's split into 3 different sections. If I defuse the bomb and it gets past one of those 3 sections, or ticks as they call it in Overwatch, that means that even if the defense defuses my bomb, I will still maintain that progression or tick, so that if I were to try to plant the bomb again, a third of the work that I did, even though they defuse it, would still be there. This makes it to where if you plant the bomb and you get it to 99% after like the long time it takes to plant the bomb and then someone defuses it, all of your progression isn't completely lost. If that were the case, the game would be extremely defender-sided, as all you would have to do is lose one team fight and then all of your progression is reset. So them adding sort of checkpoints of the bomb to where you have to go through 3 phases of defusing it makes it a lot easier for attackers to gain some sort of ground. So again, when you extract Dokkaebi, or somebody on your team does, essentially any bomb that you're working towards, even if you have 0% progression on it, will immediately get 2 ticks out of 3. So 66% of the bomb will be completely diffused if you extract Dokkaebi. So it's a pretty good buff, especially if you're really neck and neck with the enemy team. Whoever extracts Dokkaebi pretty much just wins the game. So it's very important that you're going into the middle of the map when this does spawn in the random time that it does spawn in. Speaking of spawning in, one thing that is new with this game mode is you have unlimited respawns. So if you die, you don't have to wait for the round to end because there is no rounds. It's just a continuous thing, kind of like Battlefield. The respawn timer, though, is pretty long, so you are incentivized to still not die, obviously, but you can respawn an unlimited amount of times. Also, when you're dead, you can do more than just pressing the respawn button. If you're spectating a teammate when you're dead, it doesn't matter if you're on attack or defense. It doesn't matter if they're defending or attacking a bomb site. When you are dead and you're spectating a teammate, you can press your drone button and you can drone while dead off of your teammate's body. So if you die and your teammate doesn't know where the hell you just died to, you press your drone button and a drone spawns in on your teammate and you can drone your teammate in while you're dead. So not only can you spawn in a drone and look on it when you're dead, but you can move it around and drone the building when you're dead. A lot of people do not know this, and I accidentally discovered it in the first playtest of this back all the way in November, and I've been gatekeeping it ever since. But yes, you can drone in your teammates when you're dead off of their body. It's very overpowered, and you need to start using it if you're attacking, and you're not really making the headway that you want to. Now that's pretty much every unique thing that came into the new game mode. Obviously, I might be forgetting a few things as I've only played it like a few times, but that's pretty much everything that's new. Everything existing with Siege X's relaunch also is in the 66 game mode right now, so all of the new graphics, the Sound 2.0, the advanced repelling mechanics, everything that's coming to Siege X later this summer is already in the 6v6 bomb game mode that you can get. Now, as you can see, if you go to Twitch right now, even I'm probably live streaming the new game mode. How are you able to actually get access to this new game mode? For those of you that are wondering and don't know the answer, all you have to do is watch a partnered streamer on Twitch for 30 minutes. It's a streamer that needs to have drops on. I, on my Twitch, actually have drops on, so if you want to get the new game mode, all you have to do is watch my Twitch stream for 30 minutes, and then if you go into the inventory tab in your Twitch, you can easily just claim the game mode, and you'll be able to play this new game mode. So check out the Twitch. If I forget to put it in the comments, please just ask for it in the comments. I promise you it will be there within the first 10 minutes of me uploading this video. And that is everything that is in the new brand new game mode. And if you like this video, check out the next one, and I hope we'll see you there.